Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It is Monday. And what does Monday mean? It means SATAL is back in the skies for another week. Getting things started, Silver League 4v4, and I thought this was going to be a doubleheader, but one of the matches actually didn't take place, so it's just a singleton. So it is Silver League 4v4, Oceanic Combat Group against VMFA. I had a little bit of a brain fart, but I remembered. Oceanic Combat Group against VMFA. Both teams are newcomers to SATAL in the competitive scene. How are these guys going to get on? We are going to find out. It's a short matchup today. The mission location is going to be Maycop against Mineral Vodi. A lot of these have been very common, but distance between these airfields is, well, it's not that close. It's 130 miles separating Maycop and Mineral Vodi. So fuel may be in play here, but again, Oceanic Combat Group against VMFA, two newcomers to SATAL. How are they going to get on? We are going to find out right after the supercut for this match. See you guys back here in just a minute. We are back in the sim, currently looking at Oceanic Combat Group, and one thing that I am noticing, right meow, is that VMFA is short a pilot. And I hope somebody is going to connect, but right now it is Finch leading in the F-16. He's got Tugboat back there and Blah, and we've got 3 F-16s rocking for their side. But let's check out who is flying for both of these teams. So Oceanic Combat Group, 3 Hornets, Britt, Gabs, and Munted. And then POTUS in the F-14. Will POTUS live up to that name? We are going to find out. VMFA being represented, and it doesn't look like they're going to have a 4th pilot. Finch, Blah, and Tugboat. So 2 16s and an F-14. So both of these teams coming out here with F-14s, but the F-18s coming for Oceanic Combat Group and F-16s for VMFA. So weapons are probably going to be in short supply for VMFA as we take a look at what's going on for Oceanic Combat Group, just taking a look at their weapons. 2 of their guys, Munted and Britt, are taking all the things. They are taking all of the AMRAMs. Gabs over here has 6 AMRAMs and 3 tanks, where the other guys have, oh, they're taking the double ugly. They've got 1 wing tank, so they're taking 8 AMRAMs. A wing tank in a center line. We don't see that very often. Then we got POTUS up here in the F-14 with the 6 telephone poles, those AIM-54 Phoenix leading the way, and it looks like he's going to be leading the way into combat, so I'm anxious to see how that one's going to go down. But the double ugly coming for the Hornets, and is actually, they're all taking the double ugly. So I didn't see Gabs. I didn't look at the other side of his aircraft, but they're all taking 2 tanks, so 1 wing. Oh, they changed it. So Gabs isn't taking the double ugly. He's got 3 tanks, not just the 1 wing tank. We'll have to see if Britt and Munted change how they're going. But let's put up that overlay so you guys can see how everything's are going to get on. We got rid of the icons, and we're going to change. So, guys, this overlay is a work in progress. We are going to push the missiles closer together. It's going to read Fox 3, Fox 1, Fox 2, so active, semi-active, and heaters in that order on both sides. All right, so we're going to have to work on that. Akagi is working on that as we speak. This one, he slowed down the refresh time because it was bogging down one of my streams, so hopefully that helps us. I think the refresh rate now is something like every half second instead of every 10 milliseconds because, let's face it, we don't need updates every 10 milliseconds. I mean, it's something we don't need. We just don't need it. Don't need it. So that's going to be a change. I apologize for things being spread out, but it's going to go actives, pipe, semi-actives, pipe, heaters. And it's going to be a lot closer together. So that is going to be coming. Another announcement that we got coming. Folds of Honor is going to be taking place this December. So the announcement, I'm working with CW Lemoyne again. The announcement should be coming here very soon, and it looks like OCG is rolling right now. But let's go back to talking about Folds of Honor. So CW Lemoyne and I are working together, Mover and myself, to bring back Folds of Honor. So 1v1 competition is coming back to DCS. We're doing away with the G limit because ED brought in the ripping your wings off, which we think is huge. That's going to help us immensely. Time frames for this. All right, so we're going to announce it hopefully in this week, maybe early next week. Matches are going to start the 4th. Okay, so things are going to be done a little bit different this year for anybody that's flown in Folds of Honor here in the past. And we're just going to talk about this while these guys are ingressing. How we've done it in the past is we've flown the matches and streamed them live. So this year, we're going to fly the matches first and then replay them from tracks, much like we do with SATAL. The advantage with this, the reason we're doing it this way, is because it's going to allow me, and I'm going to require pilots to submit their first-person tracks after each one of their matches. It's going to allow us to ride along in the cockpit for each one of the matches for the replays, because I can sync up the tracks, I can get all of that going. It just allows us a lot more flexibility. So now, going forward with these 1v1 events, we're going to be able to ride along in the cockpit as well as externally, because it's only 1v1. I don't have to get tons of stuff synced up. In the cockpit with these guys coming into the merges, it's going to be fucking awesome. I'm ready for it. Hopefully you guys are ready for it. In the past, we've had something like 200 to 300 people sign up for Fight for Honor, and it has just been a massive competition. I'm not sure if I'm going to be commentating. I might, but I think we're looking to do it something like Monday Night Football, where we bring in some guests and they talk about things while the stream's taking place, and I may do the play-by-play. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll have to see. But get ready. Fights are going to take place the 4th and the 5th, the 11th and the 12th. Live stream content is going to take place the 11th and the 18th. So get ready for that. Announcements should be coming to the forums, Twitter, and from CW Lemoyne personally here very, very soon. But enough about that. Let's talk about the match and how things are getting on. All right, so we're riding along right now with OCG and VFMA. Both these guys are newcomers. Something I should point out, and we need to take a look at, is OCG Brit and Munted are low. They are very, very low, and I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. So VMFA Finch, 31,000 feet. VMFA Tugboat and Block climbing behind him 23 and 15,000 feet. What do we have for OCG? OCG, we have POTUS leading the way in his F-14. He is the only high contact. I'm going to eat some pizza crust while we're talking about this here real quick. Only high contact for OCG. So interesting split coming for OCG. 32,000 for POTUS. Everyone else is under 15,000. Gabs is actually the only one at medium altitude. Everyone else is map of the Earth. So how do we think that is going to play out? The Tomcat, I think, is going to be a force to be reckoned with in this match. The Tomcat seems to do major damage in Silver League. And I think a big part of that is teams are not yet used to competitive engagements with Tomcats and pilots actually utilizing the Phoenix and the Tomcat to its serious advantage. Raptor Dad says energy disadvantage for their missiles. Yes, Gabs, Munted, and Brit will have an energy disadvantage, but if the other team is so focused on the Tomcat, they may be able to get in very close. The dictating factor here, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be how aggressive is OCG going to be. And I just saw a Phoenix coming off from POTUS. That missile, it is a Mark 60, is headed up, and that is going to be from 65 miles. 65 miles. That Phoenix was launched at Finch. All right, so here is Finch cruising at altitude. Finch is at 40,000 feet, 290 knots. So the Phoenix, and the reason why I say this is deadly against Silver League teams that are new to competition, is they may not be expecting a launch from this high from a Tomcat and from this far away. When you are this high, when POTUS is this high, and he launched from like 35,000 feet and very, very fast. When he is this high, that missile is going to have tremendous energy when it reaches its target, even from 65 miles away. I mean, look at that thing. It is still above Mach 4 at 65,000 feet. That is going to be the telephone pole, the ramrod from space coming through Finch's aircraft if he doesn't do something now. And Finch is not doing anything. Finch, you got a ballistic enema, brother, headed your way, and it is going to impart massive damage on your behind. He's getting the missile warning now, taking defensive action, but I think it is far too late. This missile's still at Mach 2.75, closing, half mile, goodbye, Finch, gets deleted. What a shot by POTUS, recognizing that things could happen here, and Finch, face smile, 40,000 feet from a Phoenix that came down from 65,000 feet, from 65 miles. POTUS making it rain, and now we've got two more AIM-54s out from POTUS. We're going to ride along with both of them. Here is one, and the other is here, and I think I've got them both. I think. So this is going to be lead, and this one is going to be trail. Yeah, I got them both now. So on to split screen we go, and these things are cooking. They are coming. 50,000, that's not an attack song. What is that? That's not cool enough. So 50-some thousand feet, Mach 3, and closing. Now, a reminder, VMFA only has 3 pilots. Finch is already dead. Blah and Tugboat are going to be the last 2 remaining, and Blah is at 34,000 feet. Blah, I think, is going to die. Missiles tracking the rear contact 3 miles away. I think they're both tracking rear. Left Phoenix is going to be the one that I think is going to impart Blah. Here it comes. Goodbye, Blah. He gets taken down, and the second one is going to be on boat, and he is trailing. This may be one of the fastest SATAL matches in history. POTUS getting 3 telephone pole kills, still tracking, closing. Tugboat, ramrodded. Goodbye, VMFA. And this is the man right here. I'd like to point out that Gabs and Britt aren't even off external fuel. They're not even off external fuel. All right, let's go to attack view. What in God's good creation happened here? This was a monstrosity of a match. And by monstrosity, I mean POTUS came in ripping and tearing with the AIM-54 and annihilated his competition. So what happened? And people say the Phoenix is easy to defeat. It is. It is, Slam. But what happened was, I think Finch, Blah, and Tugboat got overwhelmed by being on the competitive stage. Okay? Flying competitively is very different than flying in PvP. Not necessarily because of the competition, though there are, I would say, a lot of the best pilots in the world do fly in SATAL. Not because of the caliber of the pilot, but because there is something on the line. Okay? So what ends up happening is your brain gets overwhelmed. You don't perform how you normally perform, especially if you're new to the stage, and this is only the second match that both of these teams have fought. You have a tendency to forget things. You have a tendency to tunnel vision on things. And you have a tendency to only do things when you think of them. So the difference between a veteran pilot, as we watch this first AIM-54 come in onto Finch, the difference between a veteran pilot in competitive play and a new pilot is the veterans, they still get butterflies and what have you, but the veterans are doing things on instinct. They're not having to think about all of the things that they need to do. They're coming in at 40,000 feet thinking, hey, there is a Tomcat out there. I need to be cranking and diving and getting the missile down. They're thinking, I need to be utilizing my FOV zoom that DCS gives us as binoculars to be looking for launches. I need to possibly be taking a targeting pod so I can use its magnification to look at targets out in the distance and see if anybody is launching on me. Those are the things that the veterans may be doing in comparison to not doing for the new guys. So I don't want people to think that this is a showcase of a team being bad. I want people to look at this as a showcase of how overwhelming flying in SATAL can be. And I think, honestly, this is what happened, because most pilots aren't going to wait at 40,000 feet for a Phoenix. They're just not. And I've flown with Finch. I've flown with these guys. They don't do that. So I think this is a sheer case of getting behind your jet and reacting to the threats that are happening and coming at you. You have to get ahead of your jet and not react. You have to be dictating the fight. So them reacting to a missile warning while at 40,000 feet on a Phoenix that is coming down from 65,000 feet, still at Mach 3, you're dead. You are dead by that point. Unless you can pull a rabbit out of your ass, there's no way you get out of that. And that's what ended up happening here. So we're going to see if they're able to make amends going into round 1 or into round 2. Zelfer says if they notch 45 to 50 nautical miles, they could be different. Absolutely. But again, that is something that you have to think about developing tactics coming into these matches. You have to be ahead of your jet and not reacting. You have to be doing things just in case something's coming at you. You can't sit here and say, well, I don't need to do anything because I'm not getting a missile warning. No, you need to be doing something just in case there is something coming at you. Even if there's not, you need to be taking a cooperative action, because if you don't, odds are when you're that high, you are going to die. And we saw exactly that here in round 1 with OCG murdering VMFA with the telephone pole. Murdering. That should have been on, NBC News for how bad that murder was. Just out in broad daylight. Everyone saw it. No reaction. VMFA effectively walked in against the firing squad and just kept walking. Just kept walking. But enough about that. Let's move on to round 2 and see if VMFA can redeem themselves. See you guys back here in just a minute. After possibly the quickest match I have ever seen in SATAL. Now, there were some questions about the Phoenix. As far as I know, I don't think you can dictate the range at which the Phoenix goes active. At least not yet, if that's a feature. You do not get a missile warning when the missile is launched out of TWS until the missile goes active. You will get a nail from the launching aircraft because they have to acquire you in order to give the missile initial navigation to your initial position, and then it updates the missile as it goes through flight. If it loses track before the missile goes pitbull, the missile is, I think the Phoenix is effectively dead. It doesn't know where to go. It'll just fly off and try to become a satellite at some point. If you notch the launching aircraft after the missile goes active, it doesn't matter, because the missile is now guiding itself. And the missile, if you notch it and then it reacquires it, it loses you and then it reacquires you. Loses and then reacquires you, it'll come back and it'll track you again. So notching early against the Phoenix, definitely the best way to go. Notching late against an active Phoenix, definitely the best way to go. Would be great to get communication from the teams. So yes, that would be great. But there are a lot of teams that don't want that. There are many teams that are adverse to their comms being broadcast because it's a look into their tactics. It's a look into making them real people instead of these just, what a filer pilot wants to be shown as when that's invincible. So there's a lot of adversity to that. We've talked about it. We'll have to see if it ever comes to fruition. But as of right now, it's not. So small, medium, and large dictate the amount of time until the missile goes active? I did not know that. Interesting. Very interesting. I did not know that. Learn something new every day. So, question here. Will VMFA be able to come back? It's going to be really difficult with them with 3 pilots. Let's take a look again at who's flying. Oceanic Combat Group is being represented by Britt, Gabs, POTUS, and Munted. 3 18s and 114. The 18s are going double ugly with the Singleton wing tank. VMFA is rocking 2 16s from Finch and Blah, and then Tugboat and the lone F-14. VMFA, it's like OCG was playing darts, and VMFA was the dartboard. It was really rough. Really, really rough in this matchup. Moltar, have you ever considered having a round with no commentary? You control the view and so forth with jet sound, simply no commentary? No, I have not. Do you think people would want that? Does that sound interesting at all? I have some research to do, but Jester isn't smart, so I got to figure out why, because he's Jester. Depending on target size, the missile goes active in 11, 8, and 5. I didn't know that, Banana. Raptor Dad brought that to me. Why only 3? Probably because VMFA didn't have a 4th pilot, excuse me. So you got to be able to fly. If they don't fly, it's a forfeit, and the teams want to fly, so they're going to come out and just try and make something happen anyway. These guys are rolling. POTUS leading the way for OCG, and he leads the kill truck right now with those 3 AIM 54 kills in round 1. Moltar, quit beating a dead horse. Let's move on. What dead horse? I'll beat the dead horse if I want to. It's my bat, my stick. You get off your horse and let me beat it. Can't blame round 1 on lack of teammates, though. No, can't. Can't for sure. Leave it up to the viewer for their own commentary. I simply wonder how that would be like, not a permanent thing. We could try it on some of these matches. I don't know how that would go. That could be interesting for sure. Is POTUS using Jester or Human? I have no idea. So I told the Rios what we could do. Edit their name, and maybe they'll do this going into round 3. Edit their flying name, their multiplayer name when they log into DCS to include the Rio's name, and it'll put it up on the overlay. There's not really a way to do that otherwise. Are F-14s permitted to have human Rios? Absolutely. Absolutely. The human Rios do not impart anything on the total number of aircraft or pilots. The only restriction is you can only have 4 aircraft. If an aircraft required 8 to fly, at this point you would be allowed 8 people to be able to fly that aircraft. So the F-14, if you have 4 of them, you can have 8 people in the game at the same time. My PC literally died while I was waiting the stream to start. I'm gonna blame you for this one, dude. When in doubt, blame me. I mean, that's how we roll. When in doubt, blame Moltar. That's how things go. Makes everything easier. Need pin a message in this Discord, Rio Lives Matter, post their names. I think the teams know. I think we just need to keep reiterating it, and people will pick it up. There's a lot of guys that fly here in chat, so people will pick it up, and they'll get used to it. It's my horse. Yeah, Coyote, it's my horse. It's my horse. Do with it what I want. I do not advocate in real life beating horses, or for that matter, any animals or people. It's just things that come out of my mouth are not necessarily the best in taste. Just so everybody knows. Not necessarily the best in taste. So it is at your own discretion that you may have little ones or people of ye little tolerance watch this stream. Moltar is a stupid name, sounds moldy. There is a guy named Moldy. You making fun of my name, Karza? I don't really care. You can make fun of my name if you want. Make fun of me. But these guys are now ingressing. Looks like OCG is again taking the same approach with POTUS, the pinnacle of the United SATAL. Pinnacle of the United SATAL for his 3. That's a terrible breakdown of that acronym, but that's all I had. That's all I got. I don't have many brain cells left. That's all. Somebody come up with a better breakdown of POTUS. Somebody say something. Karma, if you only knew how big Moltar is, you would retract. I don't know how big I am. I mean, 6'5", I'm like pushing 270 now. Not that big. Come on. Curious how the YouTube names would fare. You mean in competition? That's a good question. That is a good question. I think a big part of that. I know you think this is Joe Biden flying. That would be awesome if big old Joe was in here wrecking havoc on the SATAL DCS stage. But you're curious about how they would fare inside of SATAL. My opinion on this, ladies and gentlemen, is that a lot of the YouTube names, and I'm going to call them out on this, a lot of the YouTube names don't want to fly in this because they don't want to lose. And I'm not saying they would lose. I don't know. I can say that I'm not worried about it. I've flown in it before. I've won it before. So I don't care. I think that gives me credibility. I would love to see those guys come in here and fly. Grim Reapers are here, and honestly, they do fairly well. They are backing up and putting it down, backing up their talk. So I think a big part of the YouTube personalities not coming in here is because they don't want to lose. And I'm not saying they would lose. I'm not saying what would happen. But losing can affect the view that people have of you, right? Because if people think, and they've never seen you against competitive pilots, they have this view of you that you're the best, and then you lose, that's a stain on your credibility, right? So I think that is a big reason why we don't see more YouTube personalities competing inside of SATAL. It would be cool to have a SATAL team that were all pilots and see what would happen. It would be. It would be very cool. And I'm going to grab these AIM-54s as they come in towards their targets. That would be very cool. But what people need to realize is that DCS in general is very different to real life. Very different. Okay? So just because you've flown in real life does not necessarily mean that you're going to be good in DCS, and vice versa. So it's very different. People need to realize that. And do not, if you ever find out that somebody's a real pilot, don't discredit them. They would probably whoop your ass in a real plane. This is totally different. A lot of we've figured out the meta. We have walked that thin line over and over and over again. It's very different. So let's not go down that in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not saying that it's a bad idea. I'm just saying that it is very, very different. So don't discredit anybody. But these AIM-54s are diving onto possible intended targets. There's one coming onto tugboat in the back, and that's going to be this one up here. It's at 40,000 feet, Mach 2.6. Finch did a good job of getting ahead of his jet and turning around. Great job there. But this AIM-54, she's a-coming, and it's 9 miles away from tugboat. It's going to be the one on the right. I don't think the one on the south isn't tracking. It's going to be this one, and she's a-coming. Play that Jaws music. Coming closer and closer and closer and closer. Little bit of chaff coming on a tugboat. I don't think he gets away from this one. The tugboat isn't going to be the tugboat. He's the Titanic, and the AIM-54 is the iceberg. It slams into tugboat's aircraft. He is on fire, and that is not something you want to see if you are trying to maintain sustained flight. AIM-54 slams into tugboat's aircraft. He is gone. Now we're moving over to Blah, who has another AIM-54 coming into his jet. Where is it? It's back there. This is an AIM-54 coming from POTUS. Up there, somewhere, coming. We're not coming because the game crashed. All right, so we're moving down here to this third one. He ejected. They all crashed. Hold on. What in God's name happened there? Okay, they're still going. They're still going. So we're back with Blah. We are still cruising. Blah turning back into the AIM-54. Is this going to be a problem? 13,000 feet. Is it tracking? Is it coming down from on high? No. It's just going to fly over the top of him. POTUS, meanwhile, unleashing another AIM-54. We can see him. Do we see the AIM-54? I don't see. There it is. There goes the missile trail coming in on Blah. So Blah defeating the first one, but now he's got a second one, and POTUS isn't doing much, but Blah needs to be careful. If this incoming AIM-54, we can see the missile trail. It's not coming for Blah. It's going down towards Finch. Finch is at 11,000 feet, not reacting to the AIM-54. We can see the missile trail out in the distance. It's still under boost, closing. Mach 3.5. Finch defending now, gets the missile warning 5 miles away. Missile's down to Mach 2.75, closing. He tries to get in a notch. I can hear the chaff coming off of his jet. He's not at a perfect 90-degree line, so I think the missile's still tracking closer, closer, incoming unwanted face mile. Goodbye, Finch. He is gone, and Blah is the only one remaining. Is it going to be a POTUS with the 6th kill? With the 6th kill. I don't know, but it's 120. POTUS is cold. 120 now coming off from Gabs. I think it's off from Gabs, and Britt and Munted are so far down to the south that they're not going to cause anything to happen. Closest 120 is 3 miles away, closing on the Blah. Still closing. 1.5 miles, is that going to be a problem? I think he's going to be allowed to energy it. He's doing some serpentining maneuvers. Missile, I can't tell how fast it is. Still closing. I think he's out energied it. 0.7, it's closing. 0.5, but it doesn't have what it takes. Flies underneath his jet. So Blah continuing to defend. Second one, is it going to be a problem? I think he's going to be able to get away from the second one. 0.9 miles, serpentine, and out energy. That thing's trashed. So that's trash, but it's 1v4. This is what the overall field looks like. 1v4. And Blah is the only one remaining. Gabs coming in, head on, one-on-one, mano-y-mano. 120 out from Gabs. Nothing having been launched from Blah. Blah just sent off a 120 onto Gabs. He needs to defend. Missiles 5 miles away. Closing. Second missile off onto Gabs. 7 miles shot onto Gabs. Blah, missile 2 miles away. Dives into the notch. Need to see the countermeasures coming off. He's trying to out-energy it. Closing, he is going to be able to get away from it. Missile's at 0.5 miles, but it's not going to have what it takes, especially as Blah comes back into the left turn and continues to bleed that missile of any remaining energy that it may have had. Now Britt coming in from the south, launches a 120 onto Gabs. So multiple missiles coming in from multiple different directions onto Blah right now. Missiles coming in from the south, missiles coming in from the east. Blah, I think, he's up a creek, and that creek is rapidly running out of water. Very rapidly. Britt now closing. Blah has recommitted. Head on. 4 miles separate these guys. Blah needs to shoot. Missile off from Blah. Nothing off from Britt yet. Missile flies over top of Britt. Missile inside 1 mile. Goodbye, Blah. And Blah gets taken down by Britt. Is that tracking? It's on Munted. Munted driving away. Looks like he's going to be out energy these incoming threats. And an unblemished rap sheet on this one for OCG. Stuck says, looks like the missile icons aren't showing up. We took them out, and we're actually gonna, Akagi just needs to condense everything for us so that we can see active, semi-active, heater. We just haven't done that. He just took out the icons. He hasn't finished up on taking everything out. But Blah gets dominated, absolutely annihilated by the 4 aircraft remaining. We're going to attack view, see how that one shaped up. It wasn't good. It was not good if you were VMFA. POTUS comes in again, getting the early kill with the AIM-54. Tugboat, Titanic against the Iceberg. Newsflash, Iceberg wins. Slams into Tugboat. He takes on too much water, flies into the ground. Blah does a good job of getting away from this one, AIM-54. Finch does a good job of getting away from this one. So Blah and Finch do a great job of getting away from those threats. Finch does not do a good job of getting away from the second threat. He recommits. He's a little bit too high, if you ask me, against the Tomcat. You got to be lower. It makes it easier to notch. Succumbs to the second one. Not a perfect 90. You can see that there. He's off by probably 5 degrees or so to be able to notch that one. Probably runs out of chaff, doesn't have anything coming out of the backside of his jet. And you really don't need chaff, actually, to defeat these incoming AIM-54s. And that means Blah is the only one left. He does a decent job of defeating these missiles. The chaff, guys, when you're doing these serpentines and you're not actually notching these missiles, the chaff isn't doing anything. All you're doing is defeating incoming energy threats. So him serpentining, that's what's defeating the missile, not the chaff. Save the chaff until you're actually going to notch a threat, all right? So he's able to out-energy, and you can see it tracking him all the way through this. So he actually out-energies those threats. The chaff doesn't do anything. Gabs launches a 120. Blah launches 120 on him. Good job by both guys out-energizing those incoming missiles. Britt then gets into the fight, and Blah just doesn't see Britt. He locks onto somebody behind him. Maybe his radar wandered and found the guy over top because there was some depth to OCG's formation. But Britt, goodbye, as these 120s find Munted, and he's able to run away from those. But that brings us to the end. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen, for this session of SATAL OCG against VMFA. OCG railroads just bent VMFA over the barrel and repeatedly stuck it where the sun don't shine. Gives them the match victory. Tomorrow's match is D3W against Joint Task Force 121, I think. If that match doesn't take place, we have another one, and that is the Motley Crew taking on Harpia. So Silver League and Gold League, and then on Wednesday, we've got Grim Reapers taking on TFS 81. Some more SATAL action coming this week. Every day, 1700 Zulu now, mind you, instead of 16, because we went through daylight savings time over the weekend. So 1700 Zulu, just for everybody's knowledge, is when we are going to be streaming from now on until things change. But those are the matches that are coming. Congratulations to OCG for taking the win over VMFA. And as Stuck says, props for VMFA flying with 3. And guys, do not underestimate VMFA. I think that a big part of that was them being newcomers to the competitive stage. But that's all I got. So I will see you guys all tomorrow. 1700 Zulu for more SATAL action. And until then, stay safe in those virtual skies, and I'll see you guys later.